It's not a secret that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been struggling quite a bit this season for the Toronto Blue Jays. And if you look on the surface and if you look at his advanced metrics, the numbers on the surface do not look too bad, but there's definitely something going on with him. And this is not the generational hitter that we have come to expect out of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So we're going to try to make the most sense of his struggles, as well as an Alek Manoah update. How's he doing in the Florida Complex League? We'll have that and much more coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, the Blue Jays just won 2 in a row in Miami. They have an off day today, and they're headed to Oakland for a 3-game set. Anything besides a sweep is going to be a disappointment in my eyes as a Blue Jay fan. But they're getting ready for this 3-game series. They got a weaker schedule up ahead leading into the All-Star break. And we want to talk about their biggest superstar, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and what's been going on with him, because he does not look like the same player that he did maybe not even last year. So we're going to try to make the most sense of that, Nick.
Yeah, last year was, a lot of people consider that an outlier season in the negative way, but this year's been even worse. But before we get into the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 7,500. Your support's been great, and the Blue Jays are starting to play a little bit better, so hopefully they can continue to do that. But like you said, let's get into it, and this doesn't look good, and we're talking about a few things here, mainly obviously Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his stats. And like you said, his underlying metrics don't look too bad. And we're going to focus really quickly on a post that kind of blew up around Twitter and specifically on Reddit. And Peter, I want to get your thoughts on this very, very quickly here. It says, it's frustrating enough that Vlad Guerrero Jr. is 0 for 4 today and 1 for 12 in Miami. But on his 3 ground ball outs today, Vlad has only bothered running to first base 1 time. It's only 90 feet, Vlad. Now, we're mainly going to be focusing on, we're not going to harp on him too much about the running. I'll quickly get your thoughts on that. We're mainly focusing on the fact that he hasn't been hitting at all. We'll get into his stats here in a second. His OPS is like 768. His baseball savant is good, but if he was performing the way he should have been and the way we've come to expect, or even a little bit below what we've come to expect, I think the Jays would definitely be in a playoff spot. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on this that blew up a little bit with the, only bothered running to first base? I don't know if that bothers you, but I figured we'd, touch on it considering it really blew up.
Yeah, well, the one positive that I will take from this is that he's been performing the way that he's been performing, and the Jays are half a game out of a playoff spot, which is something that's very encouraging if you are a Blue Jay fan. But I want to compare Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to kind of Yandy Diaz. Now, these are 2 players that have been linked in a sense, and for good reason. I mean, they're both the 2 first basemen that are vying for the starting spot in the All-Star game at first base for the American League. But Yandy Diaz is someone who completely transformed himself. Now, he is the leadoff hitter for the Tampa Bay Rays, who a lot of people believe to be the best team in baseball. Last season, in 137 games, he hit 9 home runs. The power was there. He's one of the strongest dudes in all of baseball. He hits the ball about as hard as anybody, but the problem with him is that he beats it straight into the ground. Similar to what Vladdy has been doing in the past couple of seasons, and his launch angle is nowhere near on par that it was in 2021 when he had that runner-up MVP campaign. And if it weren't for Shohei Ohtani being him, then he would have won that MVP. So Yandy Diaz completely transformed himself. He's already got 12 home runs in, I believe, 63 games this year for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's transformed his launch angle. He's hitting the ball in the air. He's still hitting it as hard as he did in seasons past, but he's finally hitting the ball in the air. So Vladdy's got to get back to that. But what I've noticed, and what Joe Siddall and Buck Martinez and Dan Shulman have been noticing on the broadcast, is that he's not getting his hands back up. He's just keeping them too low. He's not loading. He's just like keeping them down there. And that's the reason why he's beating everything into the ground. So he's got to figure that out and figure that out quickly, because he is still hitting the ball extremely hard. He's just got to get in the air.
Yeah, and he's showed some signs of that in the last couple games. Not the last game really, but the game before that in the Maryland series. We got a really nice double off of an inside pitch. And that's what he has to go back to. And Yandy Diaz is a good point. And Vladdy's still fairly young. He is very young compared to, he's not at his prime yet. He has lots of time. Looking at his stats here, it's been very, very strange for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Up and down he's never been a below league average hitter, and I'd hope not, because he has generational talent, at least he's supposed to be. You can see in 2019 and 2020, he had an OPS hovering around, an average around 780, so in the high 700s. 2021 was obviously his breakout year, an OPS above 1,000. 311 batting average, had 48 home runs. And 2022 followed that up, with a fairly solid, respectable year with an 818 OPS. And the power, while slightly down a little bit, was still there at 32 home runs. And now he's on pace for, just around 20 home runs. and he has a 767 OPS. There's time to turn it around for sure. And to start the year, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. looked like his 2021 self, if not even a little bit better than his 2021 self for the first few weeks there. He was hitting everything, similar to Matt Chapman. And I don't know what's changed. I feel like maybe he's trying a little bit too hard out there. And again, looking at his stats here, in Baseball Savant, red everywhere. Defense doesn't really favor first baseman, so ignore that. But red expecting batting average, which is funny because his batting average is, much lower than usual for him. His barrel rate's great. His whiff rate's solid. He's chasing a bit more than usual, which is kind of a big thing there. But he is pounding the ball. He is just pounding it into the ground. And if he manages a way to go back to his 2021 self, because the peripherals are there, it seems like it might just be one adjustment away from turning back into at least an 800 OPS plus guy. But who knows?
Yeah, I think the big thing that you're alluding to there is the chase rate, Nick. And why he was so successful early on in the season was because he was spitting on those borderline pitches. And I believe he had like 2 strikeouts in his first like 60 plate appearances or something ridiculous like that. He's still someone that has 85th percentile K percentage. So he's not going down swinging, but he's swinging at those pitches that are a couple of inches off the plate, maybe 2 inches outside, 3 inches inside. And that's why he's getting that weak contact. He's reaching for a lot of those borderline pitches. And that's not the way to be a successful hitter in the major leagues. Obviously, we don't know what it takes to hit 300 at the big league level. We've never done it. We never will do it. But Vladdy has done it. And when he was at his best, this season to start, he was spitting on those borderline pitches. He was drawing walks, and he was letting pitchers come to him. If you want to walk me, walk me. That's what Vladdy was saying early on in the year. Now you could tell the home run numbers are down. He's pressing. He's trying to pull the ball, and it's just not conducive to being successful at the major league level. So Vladdy needs to kind of get away from that mentality. He's got to be kind of less aggressive in a sense and just wait for his pitch and don't miss it when you do get your pitch.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And regarding the running out to first thing, he doesn't run out very often. It'd be nice to see him show some hustle sometimes, but the real story here is the fact that he's not hitting at all. But let's get into a Alek Manoah update now, and just a quick, brief update. And I have a screenshot from about a week ago from Ben Nicholson Smith and Peter. I know they've touched on it a lot in the broadcast. There haven't been many, formal tweets about him as much, but they've been mentioning it here and there if you've been watching the Jays game about how he's slowly progressing. And we can quickly touch on maybe a potential return date for him. But you can see here, this was back on June 13th that he threw a 5-up, 72-pitch sim game in Florida. And obviously his teammates were showing him love, and Ryu is, on his way back as well. But what are your thoughts on, Alek Manoah? An update for him. They're trying. We don't have an estimated date yet, but they mentioned maybe Canada Day, which is the next scheduled bullpen day. And that would be a bit of has potential for disaster. But as Ben Wagner said yesterday in the broadcast, it would also kind of be, almost a storybook reopening for Alek Manoah. But what are your quick thoughts on that? And if you think that would be a good idea, or if you think it's too much pressure for him?
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. You kind of got to ease him back in. Maybe pitch him the day after. Let Kevin Gausman get that July 1st home game. Don't care what you have to do to go ahead and get that. Line them up on the off days. Do not throw Alek Manoah in front of a sellout crowd in his first start back. He's struggled a lot. He's got to ease himself back into the rotation. But what sticks out to me in those numbers, and obviously we don't have the stats in front of us. We don't know how many strikeouts he got. We don't know how many hits he gave up or how many walks he gave up. But 72 pitches in 5 innings is pretty decent efficiency. And I know he's facing 18, 19-year-olds, so you got to take it with a grain of salt as well. But I just want to see him reestablish his command and just come back when he's ready. I don't think they should rush him back. There's still a lot of time left for him to develop in his major league career. You still got a lot of years of Alek Manoah before he hits free agency. So make sure he's 100% right before you rush him into the big leagues again, because you need that arm. You need that extra arm in your rotation to be fully healthy and firing on all cylinders as well.
Yeah, I agree, but maybe the Blue Jays aren't, because Ben Wagner did say that the Blue Jays are definitely considering, from what he's hearing, a July 1st reunion, which would be very, very interesting. But who knows? Hopefully that they let him. Regardless, he seems to be ahead of schedule. It seemed all positive signs. They raved about. John Schneider was raving about his his effort down there, everything like that. So that's a good thing to see. But that'll wrap up the video. Hopefully Alek Manoah can come back better than ever, because we could use him, and because these bullpen days are rough. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully the Jays can go ahead and sweep the Athletics. We'll see you tomorrow.